all human ambition. We got a call. The Bush campaign had been working that afternoon on a concession statement. We never knew if it was true. We were just getting ready for a run-through when the phone rang again and Mary Beth's BlackBerry began to beep. We were told we had better get back to the war room in the hotel. As we left, Kerry's daughter Alex, who had followed and filmed the campaign for months for a documentary, was sitting on the front steps. She looked at me and, in a voice that was close to tears, asked, "Everything's going to be all right, isn't it?" The only thing I could say to the intense, fragile, aspiring filmmaker and actress who'd gone to Brown with my stepson Michael was, "I think so." And then, when I saw the look on her face, I added, Yes, I'm sure it is." Our pollsters and number crunchers were calling into the war room on a speakerphone from Washington. Florida was closer than we thought. It would be tight, but we'd probably be okay there. Ohio, on the other hand, was secure. Mary Beth, someone I'd had run-ins and disagreements with, but who'd come in when the campaign was coming apart a year before and kept it together, said as we sat on a couch in the hotel suite, "Shrum, on a personal level, I just want you to know how happy I am for you." She smiled and said, "You made the difference. The debates made the difference. All the crap you took, it's over." The number crunchers called again. Florida now looked bad. Too many votes in the I-4 corridor, a stronghold of the religious right. Ohio was narrowing, but we'd make it there. I could feel where the evening was heading, even if I was trying to hope against hope. Through a guarded stairwell, I walked downstairs one floor to the room where my wife Mary Louise had retreated from an A-list party for the big Kerry fundraisers. She was sitting on a king-sized bed, watching the returns on television with two young assistants from my firm, John Hertzeg and Greg Minoff. Greg was crying, and she was holding him in her arms. I said it wasn't over. There was still Ohio, and I'd come back every 15 minutes or so. But now, every 15 minutes or so, it was Kerry who was calling both Mary Beth and me. He was checking on the numbers. In truth, he desperately wanted reassurance. The reports from Ohio grew steadily bleaker. To overcome the Bush lead, we'd have to carry a daunting proportion of the outstanding ballots, including the contested provisional ballots. There was talk about the Diebold voting machines. The company was owned by one of Bush's biggest contributors. About the lack of a paper trail, and about the long waiting lines to vote in African-American precincts in Cleveland. I walked out of the dining room, where we were all gathered around the speakerphone, crossed the rest of the gigantic suite, and looked out the window at the lights of Boston twinkling far below as the crowd at our victory party left for home. Kerry called on my cell phone about 2:15 a.m. Before he could ask, I said, "It's less than a 50% chance this is going to work out." He called back on the speakerphone in the dining room to talk out the options in Ohio one more time. He knew that if he didn't contest the results, there'd be some angry Democrats. Teresa thought then, and believed increasingly in the coming months, that Ohio and perhaps other states had been stolen. I'm not sure she was wrong. The lawyers were prepared to challenge the results. The planes were chartered and ready to fly. But Ron Klain, the former Gore chief of staff who'd worked with me on the Kerry debate preps and was honchoing the legal team, glumly advised the candidate, as he'd already said to us, that there was no realistic chance we could succeed in court. Kerry said he'd wait until next morning to decide what to do. He ended the call, and a few seconds later my cell phone rang again. "Can you be at my house about 9 a.m.? Mary Louise and I walked arm in arm the few blocks from our headquarters hotel to the Four Seasons. I was paying for us to stay there because the last year had been hard for her, too.